In the Arctic, you prepare for the worst, or the worst swallows you whole. That's how Sue Aikens has lived for decades, tough, silent, and unshakably private. But now, after 10 years of whispers, speculation, and carefully worded denials, the silence has finally broken. For years, she dodged the questions. For years, she faced the cameras with grit but kept the truth locked away. But not anymore. The most iconic woman of Life Below Zero has just confirmed what fans have only dared to speculate, and what she's finally admitted changes everything we thought we knew about her. What made her come forward now? And what has she been hiding all this time? The truth, as it turns out, is colder than the tundra she calls home. There's a secret Sue Aikens has carried for years, one tied directly to her time in Kavik, to the harsh Alaskan wilderness she calls home, and to a moment when her entire world nearly came crashing down. It's the kind of truth that forces you to see everything differently, not just her time on Life Below Zero, but the woman herself, the pain she's hidden, and the reason she's stayed in isolation for more than 4 decades. In April 2025, for the first time, Sue opened up about the darkest chapter of her life, her long, painful recovery and the terrifying moment she nearly walked away from Kavik River Camp for good. It all began in 2015, during a brutal storm and an emergency snowmobile mission over dangerously unstable terrain. That trip left her with a shattered collarbone, a dislocated hip, and severe soft tissue damage. But the real damage went far deeper. Sue revealed that the post-traumatic stress from that event crippled not just her body, but her spirit. "I used to think I could get through anything," she said in a rare voice recording. "But there were moments when I wasn't sure I even wanted to." The lingering trauma and worsening osteoarthritis made it nearly impossible to manage life at Kavik the way she once had. Yet somehow, through the pain, she stayed, not because it was easy, but because quitting would mean letting go of the only life she had ever known. And for Sue Aikens, survival has never just been about staying alive, it's about facing the storm, even when it breaks you. In the months following her brutal accident, Sue Aikens remained in Kavik, battling limited mobility and relentless pain, yet refusing to leave. To most, her decision sounded reckless. But to Sue, Kavik wasn't just a place, it was a responsibility. "Everything here requires someone who knows it inside and out," she insisted. Even while documenting Wolverine tracks and tending to wounded animals, she pushed herself beyond her limits, quietly enduring agony no one saw. But by 2020, reality caught up with her. Doctors in Anchorage gave her a grim warning: without surgical intervention, full-blown osteoarthritis would soon take over her body, leaving permanent damage within 3 years. So, in late 2021, after completing her grueling filming schedule for season 19 of Life Below Zero, Sue made a choice she had long resisted. She underwent extensive reconstructive surgery at a private hospital in Washington state. The move wasn't just about healing, it was about privacy, dignity, and protecting both Kavik's operations and the show's production schedule. Her absence, nearly 6 months long, was quietly arranged, with a trusted replacement sent in to manage technical inspections during her recovery. Yet even then, Sue's guard never came down. In a private conversation recorded in early 2023, she confessed, "I don't want people to see me weaken. I'm not invincible, but I've never made a habit of warning when I'm down." It was a rare glimpse into the unspoken truth behind her strength, that even the toughest people sometimes break, just never out loud. During this time, her emotional state was described as "locked in my own body, with days of anxiety, exhaustion, and bad thoughts about giving up on life altogether." She confirmed that she did take mild antipsychotic drugs as recommended to help with her anxiety and insomnia. In June 2022, they decided to go back to Kavik because they got good medical news and made a personal promise to keep the station at a steady level of activity. Sue does admit that at that time she was thinking about how she might get ready for a stop in the next 5 years. In a letter sent to the Alaska Northern Region Ranger in September 2022, she explained her plans to build an extra cabin about 110 miles from Kavik. This cabin would be used to move the people living there closer to commercial air routes over time. In addition to the physical effects, Sue went through a long-lasting mental crisis during the post-traumatic time. She called it the breaking point of solitude. It has been confirmed that Sue said in an interview that has never been made public, "I thought about pulling the main fuel line, shutting down the system completely, and letting it all go, but maybe I needed Kavik more than Kavik needed me." This quote was used as a private quote in the Alaska Institute for Climate and Adaptation study of how resilient polar staff are mentally. After getting better in a facility out of state, Sue Aikens went back to Kavik Station in safe condition and started making a number of planned changes to how she works and how she organizes her life. Since July 2022, her whole living situation has been changed to make it easier for her to get back into good exercise habits after surgery and to reduce stress on her muscles and joints. Sue has switched to a low-energy circle way of living at Kavik. An intent temperature monitor, a snow and ice pressure sensor, and a semi-passive freshwater storage system have been added to a part of the main living area that was originally not meant to hold them. She will have changed the heating system from one that burns fuel to one that stores heat indirectly by the end of 2023. This will cut down on the number of tasks that need to be done. Sue started to use a healthcare method that blends medical data and control of the circadian rhythm in her daily life. The daily schedule is set up to work with the weather in each step, keeping the rest-activity cycle that the physical therapist set up in Juneau. From February 2024 on, events for relaxation, light exercise, and low-pressure breathing techniques were added to the weekly schedule. While she was recovering from surgery and getting back to normal, she also did internal checks to look at reflexive behavior in long-term isolation. This information was recorded and kept in a system for personal records. It was compared from time to time. After that, Sue looked again at all the psychological responses that happened when she was alone and came up with a way to control them. This was seen as the next step in starting an individual intervention program, not for therapy reasons but to keep behavior consistent even when internal factors change it. Sue has been working with the Alaskan Civil Health Organization to set up monthly semi-mobile medical checkups since the beginning of 2024. The Kavik station serves as a central location for these checks. Internal operating papers say that each woman gets 2 full checkups that focus on 3 groups of indicators: blood oxygen pressure at high altitude and sympathetic nerve system. This makes it possible to find and fix any small changes in the body quickly. These changes in how Sue stays alive in caves can be seen in the way she acts and the tools she uses. She is no longer reacting defensively. Instead, she has reoriented her whole living system to deliberately fit the new conditions. This could be seen as a process of ontogenetic reconfiguration that lowers biological risk and raises the security of the body's own systems when they are by themselves. Why people feel alone. Sue Aikens was born in Ohio in 1963 in Mount Prospect, which is a neighborhood of Chicago. In her early years, her family was going through a lot of trouble. Sue's mother left the regular city system when she was 12 years old, after her parents decided to get a divorce. Because of this choice, she and her daughter moved to a small, remote town north of Fairbanks that had less than 100 people and almost no social services. After only a few months, her mother moved to the southern part of the state to look for work. Susie lived alone in the subarctic semi-desert for many years after this choice and made. From 1975 to 1979, she didn't have a clear legal guardian and couldn't get social services. She lived on her own by learning on her own and adapting to her surroundings. In her personal statement from 2022, which was the basis for her extended residency in Kavik, she talks about how her early adult environment, in which she was cut off from all social institutions in the city, affected her in the long run. The things that happened to her as a teenager made her act very independently all the time. This behavior showed up in all of her survival and risk-taking strategies over the next few decades. Sue Aikens has said many times that she has built her whole thinking system around 3 things since she was left alone in northern Alaska. Internal control, keeping single-line processes going, and not expecting to work with other people for a long time. She writes in her own notes, which she uses to study her behavior by herself, that this state is a protective survival standard, a way of life meant to get rid of the risk of becoming dependent. Between 1980 and 1995, Sue moved several times through Alaska's very cold temperature. Before she officially opened the Kavik station in 2002, she lived in Bettles's Coldfoot and Wiseman at different times. A study by the U.S. Bureau of Land Management of Land Use shows that she was the only person to record a personal use right on land with extreme weather Category 5 for almost 20 years in a row. The 2024 behavioral assessment of the isolated area by the Psychogeographic Analysis team says that Sue's unique personality development is due to her having been able to re-establish psychological habits without any outside contact structures since she was a child. This increases the person's ability to work on their own beyond the normal level, but it also makes it much harder for them to get back into the social world. Sue says that Kavik is an extension of the reflexive nervous system in the self-evaluation she gave to the Polar Habitat and Climate Research Institute at the end of 2023. This saying is used to explain why someone should live a sedentary life that isn't affected by normal social cycles. According to her, having little to no contact with other people is important to keep her mind working properly. She lived alone from 2010 to 2020, but worked on a number of TV shows together. Outside of KIC, Sue did not form any long-term relationships with other people or groups. She kept a profile of herself as a single person and had less than 15 direct meetings with groups from other areas each year. This information matches what the Alaska Census found about separate groups of people across the whole state. In December 2024, she told the Arctic Registry, "I am the end result of a chain of social ruptures and I choose to act as such." In this, Sue's first official writing, she talks about the idea of the personal past as a theoretical basis for the way she lives now. After that, information about the stage of behavior formation was added to the study of the psychological chain of life in other isolated settlements that met national standards. In 2013, the first season of Life Below Zero began, and Sue Aikens, the queen of reality TV, started to appear on the show. Her deal with the production company was supposed to be a 2-year deal for a single show, but after the first season did well at the box office, it was changed to a 3-year deal. Sue was mentioned as a permanent character in the 2016 renewal document. She had the power to suggest filming topics that would work in Kavik. A post-production staff report from the production unit revealed that by 2025, Sue was the only person who had been there for all 23 seasons, from 2013 to 2025. During this time, 254 shows were recorded and aired, and she was in person for 242. These episodes included ones about survival, technical maintenance, responding to polar disasters, and running an independent base. In the editing room, segments with Sue Aikens had the longest average time of 7 minutes and 34 seconds per episode. This was the longest of any character on the show. After 2017, she was put in charge of overseeing the shooting in Kavik. According to a production responsibilities adjustment document from March 4, 2017, Sue was in charge of coordinating the filming in the North Arctic. Her duties included checking the terrain before deployment, figuring out the best time to film, and evaluating biological risks before and after each shoot. In 2018, an addendum to her contract made her job more complete by adding a long-term winter safety expert. The amount of money paid for each renewal time is between $3,500 and $4,500 per episode, or about $190 a year before taxes in 2019 to 2022. The private financial report that came out at the end of 2024 showed that she made more than $2 directly from the show. 4 million viewers since the first season. Most of the money made is put back into Kavik to maintain and improve the systems there, such as the food storage, weather monitoring equipment, and backup power plants. Aside from her work on camera, Sue Aikens has also been a part of a number of projects that are not filmed. The action movie Panama, which came out in 2022 from Voltage Pictures, had her as one of 3 executive directors. She was a field expert for the show, working on things like extreme climate and highland ecosystems, according to the disclosure. There is no direct connection between the film and survival, but her work on a feature film is seen as the first time she has expanded her professional impact beyond documentary TV. For the Life Below Zero production analysis, reports revealed that Sue Aikens did not use a script that she had already written during the whole filming process. It was decided that everything she said was situational and fit with what was happening in the scene at the time it was filmed. Although she was being filmed, she was free to go about her daily activities, contacts, and routines at Kavik Station without any help. Different from other characters on the show who have loose shooting schedules, this is a big difference. After having surgery in 2023, Sue changed the on-air content by asking that some of the live shows be turned into pre-recorded ones and reducing the number of live episodes. This gave her power over her own schedule and helped her keep the same look throughout the series. One of the production reps wrote in a private memo in August 2023 that this change was made to protect the character's long-term health while keeping Kavik's image's original value. Based on the list of things Sue did, the years 2020 to 2025 will be a time of security for her finances, career, and public image. She wrote in her 2025 media self-assessment report, "I don't want to become an icon, but Kavik needs someone to keep the image true to itself. Because of this, I stay in front of the camera." This exact quote from the statement is kept in the internal archive to make sure that the character brand is true to the real-life geography and surroundings. Ice Legacy. Consistent with a 2019 U.S. Bureau of Land Control, Land Use and Residential Utility, Sue Aikens filed to buy a small log cabin inside the Tuletna vicinity of southern Alaska, that's in an extra temperate weather area than Kavik. The belongings is classified as an accent living, no longer a business or efficient one. In her written reason behind the software, she recognized the cabin as a fallback holiday domestic inside the occasion of damaging lengthy-term weather and private health situations. The belongings as reorganization marks the primary time for the reason that 2002 that she has introduced a second house outside of Kavik to her administrative document. Updated records from Kavik's internal logistics management device suggests that from 2021 to 2025, Tuletna cabins will be used on average twice a year for 10 to 14 days each time. Sports there consist of weather checking out, monitoring body responses to thermoneutral environments, and developing personal biomaps for lengthy time period fitness evaluation. A 2023 report to the Alaska Weather Institute lists the cabin as a transitional biome tracking website on the way to be used as a reference web page to screen physiological variations after prolonged remains at Kavik. In March 2024, Sue commenced enforcing a semi-normal dispatch plan for Kavik operations, wherein she proactively recruited an experienced frontline technical help individual to screen the energy machine, inspect gadget upkeep, and update meteorological data throughout periods of absence. This delegation of authority is limited to a maximum of 90 days in step with year, concerned to the terms of the Alaska Country Residency Agreement. In an updated appeal submitted to the Northern Alaska Weather Office in August 2024, Sue proposed changing Kavik from a totally private residence to an information garage station with environmental tracking. The purpose of the inspiration is to hold Kavik as a biological commentary web page impartial of the man or woman. The biological limits not allow me to function it continuously, she wrote in the accompanying file. But that doesn't imply Kavik has lost its research and climate approach price. Similarly to the reliable plans, Sue's personal record to the Tundra Self-Control Research Institute referred to that biological indicators in 2025 remained perfect, however there have been signs of decay in barometric feature during remains of extra. Then 45 consecutive days at KVIC. Primarily based on this, she proposed a voluntary limit of station stays to no extra than 210 days consistent with 12 months for the subsequent 3 years and a further 3 months of reconditioning in the lowlands after each live. In June 2025, Sue Aikens formally announced plans to hand over a number of the technical operations at Kavik to a successor skilled beneath the Twin Manager software. That is a responsibility transfer model designed to preserve system operations inside the absence of the original creator, ensuring the stability of the station without compromising the closed-loop control precept. She identified this shape of handover as a choice now not based on the want to withdraw, however on the ability to evaluate the actual limits. In a summary of her residency submitted to the Alaskan government in July 2025, Sue concluded, "I do now not view Kavik as an area to prove something. It is honestly a way to illustrate that a human being can operate complex structures beneath severe conditions on his personal power." This end became included inside the Arctic Residency Applications Honor Roll, marking the primary time an individual has achieved 45 years of non-stop biological interest at an intense stage of isolation. If you find what has simply been shared precious, please like, percentage the video with fascinated people, and enroll in not omit comparable content. You can additionally go away a remark under to feature your angle. Thank you for watching till the give up.